Hello and welcome to my presentation of the alchemy of awareness. My name is Margaret and I am a somatic body worker. My company is called Turiya Healing Work, and Turiya is the Sanskrit word for super consciousness, or the fourth state of consciousness beyond sleeping and awake. It is the witnessing awareness. And from that state, we activate our inner physician. So I'm inviting you to join me on this journey to enhancing your own mind-body connection and diving into your own healing process. So I'm going to pull up my slides and share with you my presentation. So this is about my process, the bodywork process, and how we activate the inner physician through your own inner waters and your own inner flashlight of awareness. So enhancing your interoception, your exteroception, just the overall sensitivity of your body and the awareness of your body. So let's see, here we go. We're sharing it and we're presenting it. Here we go. Okay. So enhance your mind, body, spirit connection and let your authenticity unfold. Unwind old patterns and free yourself. All right. Here we go. Next. So let's take a moment and just take a deep breath with me. You can close your eyes. Start to bring your awareness to your environment. Notice where you are in space, where you're sitting or laying down. Notice how your body is touching anything, maybe your skin, the clothing, the texture, the feeling of your body being held up in space by the chair or the floor or a bed. And then starting to deepen into your breath, noticing where your breath is landing in your body. Maybe you're aware of any sounds in your environment, any smells, noticing the taste on your tongue. And then starting to tune in to the muscles. If there's any place in your body that may feel dense or tense, any discomfort, or maybe your body is feeling very comfortable at the moment. Maybe you're feeling flow, energy moving, and coming back to the breath. And so with that short body scan, we're coming into connection with our body and welcoming it into the space with us. And starting this co-regulation, collaboration with our body through awareness. Just inviting our attention into presence. And so as you take this deep breath, let's inhale for the count of 4. Hold it at the top for a count of 4, 3, 2, 1, and exhale. Nice and slow, all the air out for a count of 8. And inhale for 4. And hold for 4. Exhale for 8. Inhale for 4. And hold. Exhale all the air out as you're sinking down and melting down, noticing any sensations that may be arising, any shifts. You're welcome to stay present with the breath, really elongating that exhale to activate the parasympathetic nervous system response, the rest and digest state, where you can drop further into the present moment. And in that, maybe there's a sense of relaxation, possibly a sense of trust. And I'm just inviting you to trust yourself, trust the messages of your body and the communication that is coming through. And that the more we do this, the more we reinforce to ourselves that we can be present, that we are safe with ourselves, that we have ourselves, we've got our own back, and that moving through a healing process is that of self-trust. And it's also a deep self-care, self-respect, and we're moving into the journey of self-love together. You can do this. And so what do these somatic sessions look like? First and foremost, we are there to regulate the nervous system. We can't do this healing work from a place of sympathetic response where we are activated, we are triggered. Now, that's being said that sometimes we will get triggered and activated. That's part of the process. It's about cultivating resilience through those moments of activation where we can bring ourselves back to center. We can bring ourselves back to us, that we feel anchored and like there's a sense of trust within ourselves that we can constantly come back to center. Life is going to trigger us. Life is going to activate us. Things are going to happen. We're going to react rather than respond, and all that is okay. It's just that practice of coming back to the breath, coming back to the witnessing state, that we can take a bigger picture look at what is happening or what has happened, and how can we move maybe next time from a different place and respond rather than react. And then how to bring ourselves back to center once again. So every time you get on the table, every time that you get on your mat, you are taking this opportunity to re-regulate, to bring yourself back into that rest and digest. And then that vagal tone increases and your body becomes more resilient. So you'll be moving through a process of nervous system regulation, building trust with the practitioner, me, Margaret, and exploring subconscious content. So internal and external dialogue with parts that arise in the conscious mind. So the subconscious content is going to arise or may arise while you're on the table, and it's an opportunity to do this excavation work in a container that feels safe and supportive. And then this internal and external and dialogue is talking about this IFS-informed somatic trauma informed, right? Somatic trauma therapy. So knowing that many of us have been through difficult times, and that these difficult times or these traumatic responses have been recorded in the body and in the nervous system. And so we have this opportunity to release these traumas, these experiences, these unprocessed and incomplete processes in our bodies. And we get to release those loops and come and into more coherence, allowing that energy that was being really focused and it was stuck, we can release it and it can circulate back into your aura, your energy field as free energy for you to use for creativity, play, your passion, and moving forward in a more authentic way rather than being stuck in an old belief, right? Or in that nervous system alarm response. And that can show up as, pain, tension, really anything that is stuck. Okay. So in processing memories, traumas, or current events, spontaneous unwinding may occur that looks like re-experiencing or completing an unfinished process. And so that may look like your body needs to move, you may cry, you may laugh, you may need to speak something out. And, these spontaneous unwindings happen spontaneously, right? They could kind of just start to come up, or a lot of clients experience it as a building up of energy. And, in our waking life, a lot of us can suppress that feeling of allowing emotion to flower and bloom and wash over us. We have this conditioning of staying silent, being quiet, not expressing, not being sensitive or over emotional. So this is the place where you get to explore opening the faucet a little bit, letting the pressure off that pressure valve, right? Just like opening it up a little by little, and you get to be the one who decides, how much am I going to open up that valve? How much am I going to allow myself to explore the depths of grief, anger, fear, joy, right? So ecstasy, even the feeling of energy moving in your body. So many of us have become numb for whatever reason. There's many reasons, but that act of dissociating from the body or numbing the body out, we have become desensitized. And so this process is an act of sovereignty and an act of resensitizing yourself to life, to your experience, to your senses. And to me, that's a very beautiful one. And it's a radical one, and it's a rebellious one. But it's beautiful and rewarding. And so you will work to maintain a witnessing perspective and then communicate at each turn. So the best we can to just witness and not really get too wrapped up in a story. And of course, I'm there to help, to guide, and to um, invite you to stay maybe in a witnessing perspective or even pull at some threads through questioning and dialogue. And then, the client is expected to communicate to the level that they're ready to. And sometimes in the first session, that's not at all. That's just exploring that inner world or remembering how to relax, remembering to go into a trance state, to let the mind step aside and just start to let the body communicate and exploring that your inner world and exploring sensations. And so as the practitioner, it's helpful for if the client communicates that way, I start to get a map and understanding where the connections are happening throughout the body. And then I get to map out some of the fascia patterns. I also may know where to go next. And I know where maybe, when I'm working on the foot and the shoulder or the neck is being activated, I can start to map out those tension patterns and help the water to flow in that direction. And so that mantra, I am safe, I've got me, I will continuously put the power back in your hands, reminding you of your power, reminding that you are the one who's in the driver's seat for your healing process, and that I'm only there as a container and a biofeedback tool for you to explore. So myofascial release and craniosacral therapy are the two main modalities that I use. I also use sound therapy, tuning forks, bowls, chimes, and solfeggio frequencies as well. So different tones that work on the body, the energy body, and actually the water in your body to vibrate some of that density out of the tissues. So we release tension through myofascial release, and it encourages tissues to soften, melt, hydrate, get that water to flow, unblock the dams. And this touch is the biofeedback tool, and it's used to support opening of the channels, right? The meridians, the energy lines, the fascia trains, and the tension patterns. So sometimes those tension patterns don't always look linear or look like an anatomical map. They are formed by your body's memory of the environment that you have grown up in, that things that you've been through, posture patterns, so sports, work, hobbies, these types of things that form our posture and the way that we hold our bodies. And also scar tissue is a big one. So helping to soften the scar tissue that acts as a barrier and starts to really pull on certain parts of the body depending on where that scar happened. So we're definitely working with scar tissue. So that allows for more circulation, hydration, and life force to flow. Why? Because water is the conductor of life force. So any of these dense tissues, they have no water. They are dehydrated. And when the water comes back in, these tissues come back online with memory that has been stored in a time phase lock from the past. And then when the water comes back in, it enlivens and awakens and remembers these memories. And that information can flow through the water as electricity back to the central nervous system to be processed and released. And then the craniosacral, the water flows. And so this is what I mean when I say I work with the water in your body. We're talking about the craniosacral rhythm. So if you imagine the tides in the ocean, the way the water flows, I can feel that water flowing through your body as a pulsation, as a rhythm, as waves, and it's all happening within the tissue, within the fluidic body, and inside the fascia network. And so the channels will open for more water to flow, tissue hydration happens, and then the increased communication that I was talking about. And all of this process is enhanced through your own awareness. So when you focus your attention, um, that is where more opening, more release, more information can occur, can happen, can flower and bloom. So it's encouraged to feel the melt and ride the waves and be the witness. And so I have a sign in my space that says, "Come as you are." And it's something that I strive to hold this idea as I move through the world, as I relate with myself, with my daughters, my family, anyone I really welcome into the space is just, be where you are now. There's no need for kind of masking it or hiding it or trying to lessen it or the perfectionism. We can kind of let all that stuff come down, all those walls come down and just arrive in the state that you're in. And because every body is so unique, no session is going to look the same. And that goes for your first session, your 10th session, your fifth session. Every session is going to look and feel different because you're different every time you walk in the door. And everyone is unique and comes with a different set of tools and experience. And with my background in Ayurveda, I provide this holistic lens where I'm able to see that everyone comes in with a different combination of the doshas, the elements, and typically will spend time integrating together in the beginning, a lot of intake, understanding of all the aspects of what your unique mind, body, spirit complex is going through in that present moment, and also health history, any concerns and goals, and then, going over like what are some possible outcomes. So your body needs time to rest and recuperate and also integrate these sessions between sessions. And sometimes that means that things get worse before they get better. And that means pain could move and it could change. And sometimes things come up to the surface where they were dormant and now they are present. Because as this delayering process happens, this unfolding process happens, it's like we're kind of going through time and history, and your body awakens old memories. And so sometimes things get a little wonky before they come back to stability. And that's kind of what these sessions can be sometimes, where they could be destabilizing until your body finds its new normal and new equilibrium. The body's always working towards that equilibrium. And so these sessions have a way of, pulling at certain threads um, that could um, increase your symptoms before they decrease. Typically, after 24 to 48 hours, those symptoms are going to subside. So symptoms like you may have a bit of a headache, you may feel dizzy or nauseous, you may feel like pain in a different spot, and you may cry, you may feel angry or irritable. And all of these things are just the body talking to you and expressing more and communicating more so that you can learn the communication of your body. And sometimes it needs to get louder in order for us to listen. And then after a few days, it'll start to subside, right? And spirituality and science, my work is very spiritual. We are working with the soul, unfolding these layers of densities, these masks, these personas we put on that have been clouding our authentic self, right? But it's also very grounded in neuroscience, in the body, in the physiology, and it's part of what I love about this work, that it's all the things, it's multidimensional, it's all the layers. And so your journey of remembering, this is all about you. This is self-care to the max. This is really a self-exploration. And so you're going to have to maybe go, be reminded of things you didn't necessarily want to look at, traumas, experiences, images, these types of things may come up in this work. So, like I said, healing is multidimensional. You have spiritual, mental, emotional, energetic, physical healing that can happen. And it's always important to stay in communication with your goals and your concerns. And it's not your typical massage. So you probably have had a Swedish massage before in a spa or wellness center. You're not going to get that routine experience here. Every session is different, and the myofascial and craniosacral touch is very subtle, although the myofascial can go deeper and the body will invite me into deeper layers if it's needed. So, um, physical changes happen when the touch is distributed inside the connection with the fascial matrix and the water element is activated. We are in touch with the cerebral spinal fluid and the lymphatic system, and you're entering a process that will unfold organically and may need time and multiple sessions to unwind. So, as you know, the body keeps the score, and this is the unwinding process. So, this delayering process, right? So, again, unprocessed emotions, they're all stored in the bodily tissues and the subconscious mind. And when we access the matrix and hydrate these stagnant, dense, dehydrated tissues, the subconscious becomes conscious. And in this meditative state, when we can get into that deeper state as the witness, you're able to process these things that have been latent under the surface. So this is the bottom-up approach to therapy, this somatic approach. And it allows you to access things that you haven't been able to access in talk therapy. And a lot of clients come to me that have been in talk therapy for years, which is so amazing because you know yourself. You know the stuff that you've been through, right? And now we just need to get it out of the body. Sometimes the talk therapy, it only does so much for us because it doesn't access the somatic awareness and memory that is in our tissues. So, like I said, these things come to the surface, and these catharses could look like anything. It could look like just like a nice deep breath or a sigh, or it could look like screaming. So it's a range, and none of it is good or not good, or it's all your process. So, believing in the wisdom of your body and let your body be your guide, that communication. We are enhancing your mind body connection and that awareness. And that is the healing right there. That is the key to your healing process. So, the somatic dialogue, exploring parts work. So, I am certified through the Embody Lab with IFS-informed somatic trauma therapy. And I will offer you some open-ended dialoguing. You may be telling a story, and I may say, "Oh, tell me more about that," right? Or you may say, "Oh, I keep seeing the color yellow. Oh, welcome, yellow. What does yellow have for us today? Tell me more about yellow. What's the texture of yellow? Is yellow making a shape? Where is yellow in your body?" And so we just kind of offer these opportunities to go a little bit deeper, get a little more subtle into these images that the body is offering us. And the body communicates in abstract ways. It's not going to give you necessarily a linear storyline, right? It's going to present in abstract ways, and we're not sure how your body is going to communicate with you. And so you're going to welcome the feelings of the sensations in your body. And we're just going to do those open-ended prompts. And we're going to cultivate that inner awareness and that interoception where we're shining that inner flashlight into the unknown, forgotten, or shadow spaces of your inner world. And we can name sensations. So if we get onto a part of the body and you're like, "Ooh, I didn't know that was there. That's kind of uncomfortable," or "That feels like tingling," or "That feels numb or empty." All that is such interesting information to explore and dive deeper into. And we can open a dialogue rooted in curiosity and compassion with these parts that can unburden and reintegrate wounded or isolated parts up to date, up to the present moment. So this work does look a lot like reparenting or inner child work. And there's parts of us that are stuck in a time phase lock in the past, and the body is understanding that as energy. There's an energy loop that is stuck. And when we can access that part and update that part to the present moment, that energy is free to circulate. And like I said, be used towards your creative passions and towards your more authentic self. And all your parts are welcome here. There's no judgment about the parts. And it's important, right? Because a lot of us come in with this intellectual mind of, "Ooh, this is weird," or "What is she going to think if I say this or that?" And, we're judging ourselves. We really are. And it's okay because we've been conditioned to do that too. So we're not judging the judgy part. We're like, "Oh, I see why you judge, judgy." We can name the part, and it can be beautiful. It can be light. Or it may take some time to unlock more of that compassion towards our parts, and that's okay too. And so you are your own authority. You are responsible for your healing and your experience. Of course, I take responsibility for my side of the street, right? So whenever I can, I will, with my own self-reflection, with my own awareness, every client comes in with some medicine for me too. I am growing, I am learning, and this is part of my spiritual work and my healing process. And it's a gift because all of you give me so much medicine. Everyone that walks in, bodies teach me new things all the time. And it's such a blessing. And so I'm humbled to do this work because I continue to have to work on being the witness, stepping aside, not needing to fix, not getting involved, not getting attached, right? Not creating a narrative about the story. And so it's always about me stepping back. And for you to be able to say like, "Ooh, I need to pause," or, "That doesn't feel good," or "That I think that's too much pressure or too much. Can we pause here? I just need to take a breath. And all that is so valid and it's beautiful and it's honoring, right? So many years of us not honoring our voice, our expression, our needs. We were told to put them aside. And now this is all about you honoring what you need and how you feel and your process. On the other hand, like there may be a lot of great positive feedback, like, ooh, that feels like a good place. Can we stay there for a moment? Or, oh, I would like some more pressure in that place. Or, ooh, I feel that over here. Can we go to this spot next? And like all of that, because you're in your body, I get to honor that because it's your body and you start to get a really good map of what's going on. Yes, I'm intuitive. Yes, I can feel where the water wants to flow. And hopefully we get into that place where my hands are mirroring your inner experience. And that would be ideal that we get to dance together. And yeah, so we're evening the playing field here. There's no power dynamic. We are in this together. We are shoulder to shoulder, and you have the power over your experience. So after the session, you are going to take time to integrate. And of course, we'll process things together after you get off the table. But typically, the first 24 to 48 hours is where this unwinding really continues to happen. And like I said, you could feel muscle twitching, new pops or cracks. And typically, after the first session, you actually might feel very light, like you just kind of took off a big sweater and a lot of that density and heaviness has lifted. And then we start to get with the next sessions a little more into some of them maybe stickier or more difficult to move through stuff. So wherever you are, it's all good. And so, like I said, pain patterns can intensify before they get better. Emotions may arise. And it's important to take a break from strenuous activity, any kind of like workouts, weightlifting, big hikes, big bike rides, these types of things. Why? So you get the most out of your session because your body is still going to be unraveling um, after the first few days, okay? And your body's going to be different. It could be up to a week. So it's really getting to know where you're at. Hot Epsom salt baths, meditation, journaling, rest, a walk in nature, gentle yoga, eating mindfully, right? Maybe it's booking a session with your therapist or talking to a trusted friend, and it's all about helping you to integrate your process. Also, hydration, right? What kind of water are you drinking at home? Are you getting it from a well? Are you getting it from the tap? Do you buy it in plastic bottles? How do you store your water? Is it reverse osmosis? Are you adding minerals? So I always recommend to add water, add minerals to your water. Get spring water or go to a natural spring where you can harvest and harvest your own water. And then I also have a structuring. Um, I have a uh, I have a tool that structures your water. And so it swirls the water. It's called the myoswirl, and it structures and it gets the molecular structure into more sacred geometry that our body can recognize the water and it actually hydrates your cells on a deep level. And you don't have to drink as much water. This is not about quantity, it's more about quality and making sure you're getting minerals in that process as well. I love to add a little sea salt, a squeeze of lemon, maybe even a little bit of sugar or honey or maple syrup to get all the nourishment out of your water and make sure your body is actually digesting and processing and utilizing that water. And so yes, I am an Ayurvedic practitioner, and you can deepen your self-care through the knowledge of Ayurveda and holistic health. If you are open to it, I will offer some suggestions. I will offer some little by little things to add to your self-care routine that will help you in between each session and will help you really start to cultivate that somatic awareness day to day and create the life that supports your well-being and your nervous system. I also offer Ayurvedic oil treatments, Abhyanga and Shirodhara, Nasya. And if you want to go deeper into your own Ayurvedic constitution, I do offer full consultations. My service list. And thank you so much for being here. So I super appreciate everyone being here with me and checking me out and, and your interest in your own somatic awareness, your own healing journey. And um, let's do unshare. How do we do that? Okay. So yes. And if you want to hear more, you can email me, find me on Instagram, and comment below wherever you're watching. And I look forward to seeing you on the table or look forward to my upcoming courses that will be available online very soon. The first course, the introductory course, is called Alchemy of Awareness. So thank you so much for being here with me. Blessings on your journey. Continue to check in with your body, with your inner child, and seek out loving community and relationships to support you along the way.